Hi, everybody. Oh, I should put my headset in. Oh my goodness, here I am. I can't believe I'm on here. I have had so much struggle with Facebook Live for so long. So I hope that this works. I'm on my phone. And if anybody knows anything about Facebook Live and connecting my camera to my computer, let me know if you can help me, because I've been trying all the things and they haven't been working. It's a little bit dark in here at the moment, which is weird because it's really been so bright all day, but the sun is going down. And otherwise it's super crazy bright over here. So this is what we got, people. But you can hear me, so that's what's important. So hi, I'm not sure if I'll be able to see you here. Let's see, I think there's a little button or something. No. I don't know how to make it so that you can see me here, but so I can see your comments and stuff. The only thing I can think is to try to find myself on Facebook. Okay, great. Here we are. All right, I can see you. Hi, Georgia. Good to see you. And here I am. I'm Catherine Bird. You probably know who I am because you're on my Facebook page, obviously, and I'm coming up in your feed. So somehow, in some way, we know each other. And I am excited to get back into Facebook Live. I've been wanting to do them a lot more since I moved to my new place, and I've had some stuff come up that's kept me from being able to do them with my technology. So trying to figure it out, and bear with me if I'm a little behind here. So today I really want to talk about the way that you receive spiritual information, and also some of the pillars of spiritual connection and channeling work, and ways that you are connecting to self, to source, to guides, to all of the things. And so the reason that I'm interested in this topic and this work is because I do train and teach channels, psychics, mystics, shamans, healers, those that are awakening into their gifts, those that are realizing that they have gifts that have been there. And so if you have any comments or questions as I'm going along, or even afterwards, if you're watching this later, you feel free to say something here and ask a question or to comment. And so as I've been training people in these arts for as long as I have, and also then the last 2 years I've been running a channeling group that's an online group that every month we connect with different beings, and we're working different spiritual muscles and tools and energy practices and things like that. What I have been diving even more deeply on, which is a lifelong love and practice for me, is how do we take these mystical concepts and arts and the esoteric and these things that seem unexplainable and phenomenal, and as though there's no way that anyone, hi Ray, hi Linda, there's no way that anyone can understand exactly how these super mystical esoteric things happen. I am always seeking to break them down and make them consumable, and to demystify them, and to figure out how do we engage with our gifts and our interests in a way that's going to be safe and helpful to us and to the planet and to our work of service out there. And so what I have been developing, and I'm going to put a link in the comments, but this next Thursday I'm going to be hosting a live webinar. Hi Eva. I'm going to be hosting a live webinar on how to channel, and introducing four pillars of spiritual connection and spiritual development work. And then also the steps and stages of pretty much connecting to anything. And what I've seen, especially in working the last 2 years, not only because before I had run the Open Your Channel course and teaching and doing the retreats, but then running these year-long programs and seeing and witnessing people and myself connecting to all of these different kinds of energies and receiving information and guidance and healing from different places, that there is a systematic way to engage with spiritual work that most of us aren't aware of. We're either doing it unconsciously or we're doing it really messily. So I want to break these down. I'm going to put the link of the webinar for next week, and that's going to be the 4 pillars, and it's going to be the 3 main stages. And I'm going to take these 3 main stages in connecting and how you connect to spiritual energy. And then I'm going to break those down even further. So it's going to be a pretty advanced, great training for free next week, because I want people to have this stuff. And one of the reasons I want people to have this stuff is because one of my devotions in beyond just translating the mystical, the esoteric to something that can be utilized in a very successful, safe, productive way, is that if we are connecting spiritually, if we're doing medicine work, if we're meditating, if we're doing energy practices, if we are having experiences, mystical experiences in any kind of way, if we're doing healing work, that the things that we're awakening within ourselves, the energy body that is becoming activated through the process, that we are also remaining very grounded, very embodied, that we are not becoming sort of these unrelatable, irresponsible people who are very connected but not actually living in the real world and being of high service, because service to people and planet is the most important thing to me. So it doesn't matter how great your gifts are. It doesn't matter if you can see things, hear things, feel things, I don't know, smell things. If you can put any kind of energies through your body and you can trans-channel, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't have useful application in the world. And it doesn't really matter if it is harming you or, just even keeping you from being fully activated and enlivened in yourself. So one of the pillars that I want to talk about today, and on the webinar next week, on next Thursday, you can sign up. A comment will be in the box. Maybe I see Arija's on here. Maybe she could add it for me to the webinar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go really deep into these different pillars. But first, I just want to talk about kind of the first pillar of spiritual development work, which is really the most important pillar, I think, is that we are fully connecting to ourselves, that we are having a deep understanding of ourselves. And over again, what I see is that sometimes we get involved in spiritual work or mystical work had a phone call come in. Okay, to feel a connection to something else and to get information or guidance or healing from somewhere else, to kind of expand our awareness of what else is out there. And that's great. That's fine. That's super okay. And absolutely, why not? But the core piece around that is that if the spiritual work that you're doing isn't actually bringing you more home to yourself, if it isn't serving you to know yourself more, then it's probably not of the highest service to your life. And so when we are seeking to have spiritual connection, we're seeking to be connecting to source, to our higher self, to our guides, to other beings, to all of these things, we have to understand that in the end, the likelihood is, if you're doing this work really well, is that you will understand, love yourself more. You will be more embodied. You will be more at peace within yourself without even needing to connect to anything else. You will be more intuitive. You will be more able to handle life. And that's if we're doing it in a really good way, if we're doing it in the right way. If we do it in the wrong way, we can become super ungrounded and flighty, just not attached to our bodies, kind of in this fantastical, imaginative space that isn't being productive. So the core pillar is that we need to understand ourselves. And in that seeking of understanding self, it's like all of the other things that we're doing are going to build toward that. Because where we're going in this work, what we're going to receive from this work always is where you're coming from, where you're starting from. So if you're starting from, I really need, all of this other stuff, right? I really need this. Instead of who am I, then the trajectory is different. The trajectory is changed. So if you start from who am I, then the trajectory that you are on as you're receiving spiritual information and as you're engaging in energy practices and increasing your energetic capabilities and increasing your intuition, your empathy, your ability to connect, your ability to translate and process energy, then you are going to end up with a higher degree of the who am I. You're going to know yourself more. And that is what is so exciting about this work. It can turn into the other thing where it's like, I actually don't even know who I am. I'm so amorphous and so connected to all these things. I don't even know myself. I don't even know what foods I need to eat, or I don't even know where I need to live, or I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing in the world because there's all this information coming in. But we're coming from that core aspect of who am I? And some of the questions that you can ask are, why? Like, why do I want to have these spiritual connections or these energetic capabilities or these experiences? Like, why do I want to go and spend a bunch of money and a bunch of time and a bunch of energy to maybe go and do medicine work, or to go and train with someone, or to have a vision quest experience, or some of these things? That there needs to be more than I'm looking outside of myself, but how am I looking inside of myself in that process to understand why we want to do what we want to do and what the higher service of our experiences truly is. Because then we're coming from a place of connecting to our values, connecting to the way that we want the world to be, connecting to a more expansive field of possibility that includes the whole world and other people and our service and our connection to others. And we're coming from a clearer space on being in alignment with a positive expression, so that if we are having spiritual connections, then those spiritual connections are going to be tuning in and tapping into your why, your desire to live in a more sustainable, peaceful, engaging, beautiful world, and to be in support of that, so that you're building that web, like you're building your community of spiritual connection from those that are actually going to support what you really want. And a lot of us get into these works because they're interesting or they just seem to be happening to us, but we disconnect ourselves from a clearer understanding of what it is that we're doing, like why we're doing it, and connecting it to something that's going to be of benefit to ourselves and to others, to our communities and to the planet. And in that, there is that need to be working consistently on your own consciousness, because the more that you are working on things like releasing anger and forgiving others and being more patient and being more kind and more generous and more collaborative and contributive. And looking at the places where you're holding shame and fear and doubt and all of these things that hold us back and keep us small, the more that we're connecting to those more beautiful aspects of self and being in alignment with those, then when we're connecting in a spiritual way, when we're connecting to the great divine and everything else, we're streaming that energy out and we're welcoming that energy in. So this is actually an important safety mechanism, that we're coming from a positive place, that we're coming from a grateful heart, that even if we are asking for guidance, right? Oh my gosh, I'm really in trouble right now. I don't know what is going on in my life, and I'm really confused, and I don't know where I'm going, and please help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. That's fine. But the more that you can be coming from that space of the gratitude of the receiving, so that even if you don't get an answer, even if you don't get the magic numbers to the lottery, even if you don't get what you're exactly wanting and knowing, oh, I need to move here, or I need to break up this relationship, or whatever you're asking about, even if you don't get that exact answer, you're still coming from a place of gratitude, and you're coming from a place of connecting to source or to your guides from a space that is the positive outcome that you're actually looking for. And so it enters into that stream of information to give you access to that higher information that is in alignment with where you want to go. That's in alignment with where you want to go based on knowing yourself, knowing your whys of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and having a higher consciousness and integrity around who you are in the world, that you are showing up in a higher integrity, that you're showing up in a better way every day, getting better and better and better and better. And so this is lifelong work. And sometimes we think that if we start connecting to things that are outside of us, that they're going to give us the answers, that they're going to be the guides that give us the answers, and that we're going to then have somehow not to work on ourselves. But actually, they're going hand in hand. And the working on ourselves is an important part of spiritual connection. And then that spiritual connection is feeding that working on self, because then you're intentionally connecting to something that is of a higher alignment, that is of a higher virtuous stream of love and light and information, and you're shifting your personal vibration to be in match of that, so that then you are advancing and you are rising and you are creating from this higher place consistently, and you're receiving from a higher place and you're receiving from that higher alignment consistently. Does this make sense? Is this resonate at all? It's sort of a yes. It's kind of basic, but then it's really an essence that a lot of us forget, because often we'll come to seeking from a place of seeking from being really in pain and less than and all of these things. And so we're moving along at the same time. Our little consciousness is moving along with our spiritual connection at the same time. And the more that we can shift our own consciousness and our own way of engaging with the world, the higher of level of information and guidance and healing that we're going to be bringing in. And that's the tricky piece, because our ego is so tricky and wanting to fool us, and wanting us to constantly be seeking outside, And so it will fool us for sure on thinking that we're doing the work when we're not fully integrating the stuff, right? We have to be fully integrating what we're getting in order to get the next level. Okay, well, you're giving me this light, this information, this guidance, this healing. Okay, well, I need to integrate that into my life, the way that I speak to others, the way that I engage the world, the way that I support the people in my life. And then as I'm integrating that, then it's almost like it opens up that next portal of potential possible stream of light energy to radiate in. Thanks, Linda. It's a good reminder. So there's still all of these other things that we need to learn on working on ourselves, which is the first pillar of spiritual connection. And again, check out the comments, and we're going to do a webinar on the 4 pillars next Thursday. But one of the things I really want to talk about today is the way that we receive, the way we receive information, and how each one of us is different. Each one of us has a different ways, and it's not one way usually. There's multiple ways that you're receiving information, and that can be where you're seeing something or hearing something as though it's coming in your ears. But those are actually more rare forms of information reception. And so then when you look at other people, maybe you see a channel on YouTube, or you go to a psychic, or you get some kind of reading from someone, or you have a healer that you love, and you start to compare yourself to what you think their experience is. And the truth is that you have your own receptive abilities that are going to be different from other people's. And so it is really important that in this process of knowing yourself, one of the most important pieces around knowing yourself is being able to track, to feel, and to translate what you're receiving. And this is where I see people get really stuck, because what I hear a lot of is, I feel like I'm getting something, but I don't know what it means. Or I'm having these experiences, but I'm not sure what the action is I'm supposed to take, or what it actually means in my life. Does anybody have this? Has anybody been in this situation where you're like, well, I'm getting something, I can feel it, but I don't know what to do with it? So a lot of this is working on increasing your sensitivity to awareness, to being able to pay attention. We are in a very attention deficit society where we do not stick to things for very long. We don't want to spend a lot of time watching a video, or, it's like little bite-sized pieces. Our attention spans less and less and less. We're inundated with lots of information. So it is really important that we spend time focusing our attention on our body, on our breath, on sensations that we're feeling. Because those sensations are markers, and they're information that we're getting that might be the key to what you're receiving, and then giving you that information of how you can translate what it is that you're receiving. And this is really takes practice. It takes being in practice of connecting and opening and being in presence and being in inquiry and being in practice of that process of feeling, and being in that what I would call that open channel state, like giving it space in your life, and then becoming your own best scientist of tracking your data, of tracking what things feel like, of sensations, of sensation in your body, sensation in the energy, sensation in your skin, sensation everywhere. because that's going to give you more information as you're going along, if you're connecting to something, as to if it feels good, if it feels maybe not so good, maybe something I don't necessarily want to super connect to. You like the sunshine looks good, huh? And so that helps to build that discernment muscle. It helps to build you out so that then as you're going through this process, you can kind of understand, oh, that's what that means. Or also, that's when something's coming in. That's really important because a lot of us don't understand that, and we might mistranslate information being received as anxiety or fear or being sick. It can be coming in and we don't know that's what that is. We also, so for example, earlier today I was on a call and I'm sitting and then I'm like, okay, here comes the stream. Like I can feel the stream coming in, and then I know to do my trigger and to give myself an access point to receiving information. And okay, so let's all right, so it's like, okay, let's, so here it comes. So we have, there's an example here. So, all right, so, okay, so here we go. So, what is important for you to understand is that in the process of connection, that each individual system is programmed in very specific ways to receive information from different streams of consciousness, from different portals of energy, and so it's just showing these different places in a sort of time-space reality out there. And let's see. So that specific streams of light, information, and consciousness can anchor into the field of the earth and into the collective consciousness. And this is why it is important, as it has been explained to you, to understand your system in such a way that you allow for its unique expression to be presenced into the world. Because it is not only that you are receiving information and disseminating, allowing the information to move through you in some sort of way through the process of speaking or allowing energy to move through you, of writing, of all of the different ways that information can move through you. It is not just the information. It is not just this download, as it is said. It is often an energetic anchoring of consciousness shifting stream into the earth and the collective as a whole. And this is why it will look different for different people, connected to different places, to different times, to different energy, forces and fields. And we as a collective are then infiltrating the planet in a way. Infiltrating might sound like a intense word, but we are bringing to the planet these different frequencies. You can think of it as notes in a symphony. and that if all of you were playing the same note, the symphony would be quite boring and everyone would leave. It would not have the effect of touching the soul. It would not have the effect of illuminating the mind. It would not have the effect of allowing expansion and creation, as you know that a symphony does touch you and opens you and allows you to feel yourself more deeply. So this is why all of these individual notes are needed, and why we ask you to be present to the instrument that you are in order to access the way that you are to play the notes that you are guided to play. Yeah? All right. So what else about that? So that's the main gist of it, that we're notes in the symphony. I want to presence this just for a second. So you see me look up. This is what I would call a trigger, right? This is a trigger for me that I've developed over the years. Super simple, right? I'm looking at a specific angle. My eyes shift and my eyes change. This is a specific trigger for me that I've developed over the years. And then I know from my studies, from my mystical studies with my teachers and the masters I study with, these are consistent triggers that have supported channels and mystics over the years. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I'm not a crazy person. I'm actually doing the thing that people do. So you see that. And you can also see in there, I said that something looked like something, and it does. But when I'm receiving, sorry, people are calling me. When I'm receiving that, I'm not receiving it perhaps in the way that you might think. It's not, if I was seeing someone do that, I might think, oh, that's like there's a movie projector, and it's like there's a movie and she's watching a movie. It's not exactly like that for me. It might be like that for you. I know a lot of people who it is like that. But the way that I'm receiving that, it's almost as though it's almost in like a fog. Like I am not exactly like I'm seeing it with my eyes. It's more like energy is translating into my brain something that has an essence of a visualization. Now, that is a very kind of amorphous sort of description of what's going on, but I think it's important for me to offer you this because this is an important part of knowing ourselves, because for years I was like, well, I don't see things because I didn't see things in the way that I thought that I was supposed to be seeing them. Now I know that I do see things. I just see them in this particular kind of way, and that the more that I pay attention to that, the more that I speak to that, the more that I give it voice, the more that I express it, the clearer that it is. And it still doesn't look the way that I think that it should look, or I used to think that it should look. Now I have no attachment to that. I've gotten past that. So does this resonate with you guys? Is anything here hitting home? The real thing is that what I want to leave you with, I don't know how long I've been on here, but I know my phone is going to die because my phone is really bad battery these days. What I really want to leave you with is that the process of spiritual connection and this process of being more solid and confident in the way that you're receiving information, whether you're doing it in the process of like healing work and working with someone, or coaching work and you're getting stuff for them and you're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff coming in, there's a lot of stuff coming through, whether it's like that, or whether it's, sitting in medicine work, or it's hi Lisa, or hi Matthew, and whether it's being what would be considered like a medium or channel, or whether it's simply being able to sit in your own self and receive guidance from your higher self and your guides, and your teachers, your individual personal lineage. Not maybe a lineage that you're studying here and now, but the lineage that you're super connected to from another place and time, which might be the inspiration for studying in the lineage now. Something also to be talked about. So this is just an important piece that I want to give you in this first pillar. And there's a lot more in this first pillar of understanding and knowing yourself inside of this spiritual work. And like I said, I've come up with 4 main pillars of this work, and I've also come up with 3 stages of connecting in the spiritual realms, which those 3 stages are actually, I'm just going to give you the download right now. They're actually broken down into about 11 steps, and those steps go inside those 3 phases. And I'm going to be sharing all of those this next Thursday on a webinar, How to Channel. I want to give you this information. And if you're interested in this work, whether you're having an intense awakening and you're having a lot of stuff come up, and you are, and you're confused and you feel lost and you feel like you need some support like that, or if you're like, well, it's not that intense for me, but I know I have this really deep spiritual connection, and I know I have this ability to read energy, and I want to develop that and find my own essence of mastery within that, come to the webinar, sign up. You'll get some great information there, and then also consider joining Open Your Channel, because that's going to be starting February 23rd. And yeah, Lisa, receiving is the greatest challenge. Receiving is a big challenge. And when it comes to receiving spiritual information, I believe that the more that we let that happen and we let that in, and we give ourselves that essence of consciousness, we give us a confidence in what we're receiving as we develop that muscle, because it's a muscle, then I believe that we also are then we're developing our own receiving muscle on the other side, as far as I'm going to read this question, as far as like receiving in daily life. And it really, I think, brings up a lot of our stuff around where we're not receiving in daily life and where we're not letting ourselves let stuff in. So let's see if I can find this question from Catherine. Catherine, I experience connection through the heart with certain energies, and it's a discussion through the heart. Do you have that too? Yay, Catherine, that's so great. I talk about this a lot because our main discernment muscle is the heart. And for sure, I always say that, if it can't reach your heart, if it can't inspire your heart, if your heart isn't resonating with whatever is coming in, then it's not really like, what's the point, right? It's not going to get you there. Like being able to really connect through the heart is of utmost importance in this work, to be able to draw the heart into presence and to ask the heart, does this feel good? Does this feel like true to me? Because the heart has this huge bioelectric force field, right? It's the strongest in the body, much stronger than the brain. And so the heart is actually able to process information in a way that nothing else can. It's able to give us that yes. Some people will receive a little bit more of that yes in the gut, and that's how they're receiving more information. Some people will receive it more through sensations in the body, that yes feeling. And some people will get it, as you're saying, like through that heart and through the heart energies. And then there's also certain streams of energy. There's certain beings. There's, when we start thinking about the angelic forces, right, way more connected into the heart space. And when you connect to them, you feel your heart expand and you feel a lot of presence in your heart. And that seems to be pretty consistent for people. If you're connecting to, so that might be a stream of information that you're connected to, Catherine. And if you're connecting to a different kind of stream of information, say a galactic stream of information, or you're connecting to animal spirits, or you're connecting to some kind of nature spirit, you might experience it in a different way. And I know that, for example, if I'm working with my ancestors and I'm connecting to my grandmother, oh, it's just so like in the heart, right? And this can give you really good information on who you're connecting to. If I'm connecting in a session with someone, when I'm doing session work, oftentimes I'll get different connection points for different energies that are coming in to give information or to offer healing. And some are just so heart-centered, and it's all about, that sense of peace and presence in the heart, and it just feels so good, and you just kind of want to weep over the experience of how good it feels to connect to such a heart-centered energy. So yeah, it's then, Catherine, is then that piece for you. I would say it's like, okay, how do you translate that? So Catherine's saying, I feel like these energies and people chose to connect to me, and it's just like incoming. But how can I initiate the process? Okay, great. Thanks, Catherine. That's true. And I know that for me, I didn't have any kind of a process for a long time. I didn't know what the steps were. I didn't know how to handle it. It was just like, oh, stuff's happening. Okay, this is what's coming in. And so this has been something that I've been breaking down for a long time, Catherine, and I'm super, super interested in the different steps and the stages. So I would say number one thing is number one thing, come to the webinar on next Thursday. It's in the comment box. Just go ahead and sign up, because I'm going to be talking about these pillars, but I'm also going to be talking about the three main stages in connection work and this initiation of the process. And then I'm going to be breaking down those three main stages into several, like 11 different steps. And I will give you, I'm just going to give away this stuff because I'm going to give away these exact steps in the connection process, which is like the initiating the work, being in the work, and then closing and clearing the work. And so that's a really important piece to understand. And this is my big passion. Catherine, is my big passion is taking these things and breaking them down and understanding what are the processes and what are the tools that we can use in each step and stage of the process to give us these access points, these triggers that are going to initiate it, the techniques so that we're safe and we're holding ourselves correctly, that we can be in the inquiry. You know, how do we be in inquiry? How do we call on specific beings? And then how do we close all of that down and be taking care of ourselves in this process? Because we really have to take care of our physical body, taking care of ourselves in this, which can kind of take a back seat, and we might not do the right practices and use the right tools if we just don't know. We just don't know. I used to not know, so I spent a lot of time working on knowing this stuff. Love to have you and keep chatting about this, Catherine, on these different ways that we can connect. My phone is going to die, it's telling me. So I just want to thank you for showing up. Thank you for asking questions. Again, if any other questions come to you, like put them in the comment box. I'll come back and check on this later and answer some other questions via that way. And let's keep this conversation open. And I hope to see you next Thursday on the webinar. Link is in the comments. And I hope that you have a beautiful and blessed evening. And thank you, everybody. Thanks, Catherine and Linda and Matthew and Iridia and all of the people. Lisa, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.